It didn't start with a fight. No slammed doors. No raised voices. Just a sentence, too ordinary to feel dangerous, drifting through the kitchen like steam off a forgotten kettle. I was in the hallway, arms full of groceries. My palms were sweating against the plastic handles, the kind that leave welts if you carry them too long. I paused, readjusting my grip. Lauren's voice floated in from the next room. She was laughing, light and easy, the way she always laughed when her friends came over. A version of her I barely recognized anymore. Warmer, carefree, effortless. Then came the sentence. He just helps around sometimes. That was it. I didn't breathe at first. Just stood there, perfectly still, like an animal that senses the trap but steps forward anyway. She said it like a joke. A throwaway line. A passing remark to make herself seem unburdened. Like she was talking about the handyman. Or a kind neighbor who brought in the trash cans when she forgot. Not her husband. Not the man living in her house. Not the one who covered her mortgage when she lost her job. Not the one who made Emma's Halloween costume from scratch when the online order never arrived. Not the one who fixed Tyler's science fair project at midnight the day before it was due. Not the man who, for 5 years, had slowly erased his own life to fit into a shape they would never acknowledge. He just helps around sometimes. I didn't walk in. Didn't ask her to explain. Didn't clear my throat to remind them I was standing right there. I just waited. Waited for her to correct herself. To say something else. Anything else. But the conversation rolled on. They laughed about schools, vacations, a recipe someone had ruined last week. The moment passed for them. For me, it didn't. I walked into the kitchen, set the bags on the counter, nodded at her friends, and left. She didn't turn around. Didn't ask where I was going. Didn't even glance at the groceries I just carried in so she could keep smiling, keep laughing. And upstairs I saw them, her children, watching. Emma was half hidden behind the banister, earbuds dangling around her neck. Tyler sat on the couch, game controller in hand. Both of them had heard it too. That's the thing about kids. They learn faster than they let on. They pick up on roles, on signals. They don't need to be told who matters in a house. They feel it. And they felt that. They looked at me. Not with hate, not even with contempt. Just certainty. Like something had clicked into place. Like they'd been waiting for the definition to drop. Just someone who helps around sometimes. I didn't say anything. Didn't call Lauren out that night. I let her laugh. I let her sleep. I let her move through the house as if the sentence hadn't redrawn the entire shape of our family. Because I realized, in that moment, that there was nothing left to argue for. My role had already been assigned. No amount of explaining would undo it. I accepted it. If I just helped around sometimes, then I would act accordingly. I would adjust. No more automatically picking up the dry cleaning on the way home. No more instinctively calling the plumber when the downstairs toilet leaked. No more I'll grab it or I've got it or don't worry about it. No more default presence. I stopped showing up unannounced. Stopped offering before being asked. Stopped building a bridge no one wanted to cross. And slowly, not immediately, but steadily, the house began to change. Started small. I didn't refill the propane tank for the grill. No one noticed until it ran out during one of Tyler's weekend cookouts. Lauren texted me, short and clipped, "Did we forget to refill the gas?" I replied, "I don't know. Maybe." I didn't remind Emma about her dentist appointment. She missed it. Lauren was furious. Said I was usually the one who kept track of those things. I just nodded. I didn't stop loving them. That's not how this works. You don't flip a switch and walk away from people you've carried. But I did start questioning what that love had built, and whether anyone had ever really seen it as love at all, or if it had just been help. Convenient, quiet, replaceable. I began peeling myself away from the scaffolding of the house. Not in anger, not even in pain, just in silence. At night, I started coming home later. I told her work had picked up, and sometimes that was true. Other times, I just sat in my car 3 blocks away, letting the engine tick cool as I stared at nothing. I liked the stillness, the absence of noise, of expectation. Dinner still happened, But my plate was often in the microwave by the time I arrived. Nobody waited. Nobody asked. That was fine. I didn't need a welcome party. I just noticed it, logged it, quietly. Lauren didn't say anything. Maybe she thought it was a phase. Maybe she welcomed the space. Maybe she liked not having to account for me. And the kids? They adjusted faster than I expected. Tyler stopped asking for rides to practice. Emma started handling her own laundry, not because she wanted to, but because I stopped folding it neatly on her bed like I used to. They didn't complain, didn't ask why things were shifting. And I think that's what cut deepest. The realization that my withdrawal wasn't shocking to them. It made sense. I had become what Lauren said I was. Someone who just helped around sometimes. So I started living like it. I took up running again. Joined a gym 2 neighborhoods away. Started seeing an old friend from college for coffee on Saturdays. Someone I hadn't spoken to in years. When he asked how things were, I just smiled and said, "Quiet." He nodded like he understood. Maybe he did. At home, I began clearing out the garage. Not to make space for a project. Just to find the parts of myself that had been boxed up when I moved in. I found my old camera. Dust-covered. Forgotten. The lens still had a chip from the trip I took before meeting Lauren. I turned it over in my hands for a long time, wondering how something could disappear in plain sight for so long. That's how I felt too. Not erased. Just unnoticed. Strange. How long a person can carry a family without being seen. How easily presence turns invisible. How quickly gratitude mutates into expectation, then into entitlement. I had mistaken silence for harmony. I had confused being needed with being valued. Now I knew better. That sentence, 12 words, casually tossed into a conversation about God knows what, didn't destroy me. Clarified everything. And I acted accordingly. Not with revenge. Not with threats. Just with quiet decisions. I was no longer going to carry the weight of a family that refused to call it mine. And once I stopped being automatic, I started being honest. I didn't leave all at once. Couldn't. Not because of love. Not because I was clinging to hope. But because walking away from something you've built, even if you were never invited to own it, takes time. Takes calculation. Precision. You don't burn the house down. You pull out the nails one at a time until it collapses on its own. The first nail was my name on the autopay. I sat down one night after they'd gone to bed. The house was dark, except for the soft glow of the laptop screen. I opened our bank accounts, our shared apps, the platforms that buzzed silently every month, pulling from my funds to keep their lives smooth. Groceries, internet, car insurance, Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Emma's Spotify Premium, Tyler's Xbox Game Pass, the family phone plan. I didn't cancel them outright. I staggered it. The first to go was the car wash subscription Lauren never used, but insisted on keeping just in case. Then the second-tier streaming services. I knew they wouldn't notice, not at first. It had to be slow, measured, subtle enough that it felt like coincidence. Then I opened a separate account. My name only. Felt clean. Not rebellious. Not secretive. Just necessary. I changed the password on my credit card app. Removed the shared emergency fund from my favorites. I wasn't hiding, I was detaching. The same way you gently unwrap a vine that's strangling a fence. Lauren didn't notice. Or if she did, she said nothing. She was still herself. Polite, distracted, always half-planning something that never arrived. She kissed me on the cheek before leaving for work. Asked if I could grab almond milk on the way home. Told me she'd be out late Thursday with a coworker. She didn't see the absence behind my eyes. The house functioned, but just barely. The lights still worked. The water still ran. But little cracks appeared. The Wi-Fi started dropping during peak hours. Emma stormed into the hallway one evening, shouting that her FaceTime call had cut out. I shrugged. I guess it's the router. She didn't thank me when I rebooted it. No one did. They never had. That was the pattern. I saw it now with horrifying clarity. The more I pulled away, the more obvious it became. I hadn't been part of the family. I had been the mechanism. the thing that made everything else run. When I stepped back, everything flickered, and still no one asked why. That's what changed first. Not the routines, but my eyes. My memory. I started seeing the past without the stories I told myself to survive it. The night I stayed up until 2 a.m. assembling Emma's bed while Lauren fell asleep on the couch. That wasn't a bonding moment. That was me being the unpaid laborer. The day I drove 4 hours to pick up Tyler from a canceled weekend at his father's because Todd forgot to text. I didn't rescue him. I just filled a vacancy. Even our vacations, the ones I booked, planned, paid for, photographed, I was behind the camera in every picture. Invisible again. I remembered Emma once asking, "Can you take a photo of the three of us?" Not, "Can you be in this one?" Not, "Can we all get a picture together?" Just a request to keep documenting the thing I wasn't included in. 5 years of that. 5 years of framing the shot and being asked to step aside. And I did it. Gladly. Because back then, I believed effort would earn affection. I believed that one day, they'd look back and realize I had been there for all of it, and that would be enough. But it wasn't. It never would be. I started rereading old texts, looking for signs. The way Lauren referred to me in messages to her friends. "E's picking up the kids. E said he'll fix it. E's home." Never "my husband." Never the kid's stepdad. Just initials. Like an assistant. Like a butler. Even her calendar app had me labeled E-errands. I was a task. A feature of the household. Like the microwave. And worse, I had participated in my own erasure. I had made it easy. When Lauren forgot a birthday, I made the cake. When Tyler needed school supplies, I covered the cost before she noticed. When Emma was too tired to do her science project, I built the whole damn volcano and let her take the credit. I thought that was love. Now I saw it for what it was. Servitude dressed as sacrifice. The real shift happened the day I checked the insurance portal and realized Lauren had never updated our beneficiary forms. 5 years married. House in my name. Health insurance through my job. And still, her emergency contact was Todd. Todd, the father who sent Tyler 1 birthday card in 3 years. The man who showed up late to Emma's recital, reeking of cheap beer and smug forgiveness. The man who forgot his daughter's allergies, who called her M, even though she hated the nickname. He was still the name she trusted if she collapsed. Not me. I brought it up once, gently. She blinked, like she hadn't thought about it. "Oh, I guess I forgot." That was it. No apology. No rush to fix it. Just a shrug and a scroll through her phone while I stood there, waiting to matter. I didn't bring it up again. Instead, I started keeping track of every account, every bill, every responsibility I could remove myself from. I untangled myself from the family phone plan, transferred ownership to Lauren. She didn't even notice until the bill came in higher than expected. Then she asked, "Did something change with our provider?" I said, "I think you mean your provider." No fight followed. Just silence. The kids kept living like nothing had changed because for them nothing had. The fridge stayed stocked. The laundry got done. They still assumed someone would drive them when they needed it. And sometimes I did. Out of habit. Out of guilt. Out of some stupid part of me that still wanted to be seen. But each time it cost me more. Not money. Dignity. Lauren started asking questions, but they were surface level. "Are you okay? You've seemed a little distant. Is work stressful?" I lied. Told her I was just tired. And I was, but not from work. From being a ghost with a mortgage. I'd sit in bed beside her, scrolling through listings for apartments, for townhomes, for small places downtown where the walls wouldn't echo with someone else's laughter. I told myself I was just browsing, just checking, just looking. But something in me knew. The exit had already begun. And no one had noticed. The system didn't crash. Stuttered. Glitched. Struggled to keep balance without realizing it was already off-kilter. Lauren's household, the one I had propped up for 5 years, began showing signs of failure, not because I left it in ruins, but because I stopped patching the leaks. The scaffolding I had built with quiet, invisible labor began to collapse, and only then did they look for me. They didn't even know I was gone at first. That's the part that cuts deepest. The first real warning came on a Monday. Lauren texted me at 4:12 p.m. from the grocery store. Lauren, did the card get frozen? I tried to pay and it declined? I didn't answer, because I didn't owe an explanation. I had removed my name from the shared card 2 weeks prior. Clean break. No alerts, no overdraft risks. Just absence. I knew she'd stare at the reader, flustered, while the line behind her grew. Knew she'd pull out her personal card, the one she rarely used, and swipe with that nervous smile she used when something cracked in public. Knew she'd get home angry, not because of the inconvenience, but because the world had dared to make her look unprepared. I came home late that night. She was on the couch, arms crossed, laptop open, eyes full of unasked questions. The store was a mess, she said. I nodded. I imagine. She waited. I waited longer. Then she closed the laptop, got up, and left the room. The silence said everything. She wasn't ready to ask the real questions. Not yet. She was still hoping the glitch was temporary, that the machine would self-correct, that I would return to my original programming. I didn't. The next night, Tyler texted me from school. Tyler, Wi-Fi down? Can't get on my laptop. I ignored it, let the message sit unread. I'd already removed the autopay on the router account. The grace period was over. Services were suspending one by one. He followed up with another message 10 minutes later. Tyler, Mom's on hold the provider. This is stupid. Can you just fix it? There it was. The assumption. The reach for the invisible hand. He wasn't mad the internet was down. He was mad I wasn't fixing it fast enough. I waited an hour, then texted back one sentence. Me, ask your mom. He didn't respond. That night, I heard Lauren arguing with the service rep in the kitchen. Something about late fees, reactivation, a new login. Her voice wasn't panicked. It was sharp, embarrassed, like she couldn't believe the machine me had stopped running. She didn't bring it up when I walked in. She never did. She just glanced at me, tight-lipped, and said, Tyler had a paper due. It's not funny. I didn't laugh, because I hadn't found any of this funny for a long, long time. By the end of the week, it was the car. Lauren's. The same one I'd kept running for years, oil changes, brake pads, new tires. I quietly renewed the insurance every cycle. Replaced her registration sticker. She never noticed, until she needed to renew it herself. She walked in from the DMV like she'd been slapped. You took your name off the policy? Yes. When? A month ago. But why wouldn't you tell me? I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't hurt. She was inconvenienced. That was the difference. I didn't think it mattered, I said. You said I just help around sometimes. The words didn't hit her the way they hit me. She looked confused for half a second. Then her face darkened. The memory clicked into place. That's what this is about? She asked, her voice rising. A stupid comment I made to my friends? I didn't answer, because it wasn't just about what she said. It was about what she revealed. And the kids, they felt it too. Emma came to me a few days later. She hadn't spoken more than 5 words to me in weeks. But now, she hovered by the kitchen door while I made coffee. Her arms crossed, voice small. Did you cancel my phone? I looked up. No. You sure? It's acting weird. I couldn't log into my Spotify. I didn't cancel the phone, I repeated. But the Spotify was on my card, I said flatly. And I removed my card. She blinked, like that had never even occurred to her. That someone else had been footing the bill. That things had been paid for month after month by a man she barely acknowledged. But you always. I cut her off. Not anymore. She left the room. No apology. No thanks. Just confusion. They didn't understand. Not yet. They were still in the phase of thinking the house ran on its own. That comfort was the default setting. That all these years of stability were natural. Not built, not bought, not maintained. But then Lauren came to me. I was in the garage, sorting through a bin of old tools. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, voice carefully casual. "Hey," she said. "Can we talk?" I didn't look up. "About what?" "Everything." Still, I didn't look up. So she pushed forward. "I feel like you've been distant. Like something's changed." I nodded. "It has." She waited. I gave her nothing. Finally, she exhaled. "Is this about what I said? About the what the helps around thing?" I said nothing. She continued. "You know I didn't mean it that way. Did you mean it any other way?" She frowned. "Come on, Ethan. I was joking." No one laughed. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then, "You're overreacting." The kids didn't take it that seriously. They joked too. "It's not that deep." I turned to face her. "That's the problem, Lauren. It was that deep. You just said it shallow." She flushed. "So what, this is punishment? You're just gonna stop being part of this family because I made a mistake?" I stared at her. Was I ever part of this family? That made her flinch. Just for a second. Then she regrouped, wrapped her arms tighter around her chest. "Of course you were. You are. Then why did you call me someone who helps around sometimes?" Her mouth tightened. "I was trying to be funny. You're reading into it." I shook my head slowly. "No. I finally stopped reading into anything. I'm taking everything at face value now." She didn't have an answer, because the truth had finally become undeniable. She hadn't just let the kids ignore me. She had joined them. She hadn't protected my place. She had redefined it. And now that the comfort was gone, now that the money and the reliability and the daily silent sacrifices were fading, now she wanted to talk. Not about me, not about the damage, but about the restoration of convenience. That night, the house was quieter than usual. No music from Emma's room. No Tyler shouting from the basement. Just quiet. I walked through it like a visitor in a museum of my own exhaustion. This was the house I paid for. Every brick, every coat of paint, every roof repair after the last storm. And now it felt like someone else's life. Like I was watching it from the outside. I remembered something Emma once said to her friend on the phone, loud enough that I heard from the hallway. "Yeah, Ethan's just like, there. Like he's fine. I guess he tries. He tries. I guess." I had laughed at the time. Shrugged it off. Now I couldn't. Now I saw that sentence for what it was. The echo of Lauren's own framing. The way she had subtly shaped how her kids saw me. Not as a parent. Not even as a partner. Just as a presence. Harmless. Convenient. Forgettable. And now that presence was gone. The system was failing. And all they knew how to do was look around for someone to fix it. But I wasn't going to fix it anymore. Because fixing things only made me easier to ignore. I didn't leave with a bag in hand. I left with a password reset. It started with the bank. The old joint account, the one Lauren still used for groceries, gas, and every unspoken expectation of shared life. I changed the login. Then I shut it down. Transferred the remaining balance to my name-only account. Closed the door. No message. No warning. Just absence, the same kind they'd practiced on me for years. Then came the mail. I rerouted it. Utilities. Tax documents. The credit card I'd used for Tyler's braces. Emma's summer camp. Lauren's emergency dental work. All of it came to the new townhouse now. The one I'd leased quietly, halfway across town. Above a coffee shop where no one knew my name. It wasn't luxurious. The floors creaked. The windows fogged. But it was mine. And when I locked the door, no one asked where I was going. No one needed me to do a drop-off or pick up dinner or fix the leak under the sink. It was silent. It was unfamiliar. And I could finally hear myself think. Lauren didn't call the first week. She texted once. "Lauren, are we okay?" I didn't answer. Because the answer was complicated. And simple. No. And also, we never were. The second week, she called. Left a voicemail. Her voice was measured. Not warm. Not desperate. She didn't ask where I was. She asked about the bills. "The internet's still in your name," she said. "It stopped working again. The kids have school." It wasn't a request. It was a prompt. The kind of sentence people use when they assume a man like me will step forward out of guilt or obligation or pattern. I didn't. The silence stretched. She tried again the next day. A longer message this time. A softer voice. She mentioned that Tyler had been acting out, that Emma had skipped 2 of her Zoom classes, that the house felt strange without me. But not once did she say she missed me. What she missed was the function I played. The system had grown too used to being supported by a ghost. Now that I was gone, it was falling apart in slow motion. A week later, I got a knock at the door. It was raining, not heavy, but steady. I opened it and found Lauren standing there, hair damp, coat sticking to her shoulders. She looked smaller. Or maybe I just saw her differently now. She didn't wait for an invitation. I didn't know where else to go, she said. I stepped aside, wordless. She entered slowly, like someone who didn't believe the room was real. It's quiet here, she said. I nodded. That's the idea. She looked around, not at me, but at the apartment itself. The absence of decoration. The single plate in the drying rack. The books on the floor. My jacket draped over a chair. A life lived alone. And then she turned to me. Why didn't you say anything? I raised an eyebrow. About what? About everything, she said. About the things that bothered you. About how you felt. I stared at her, heart like stone. I said plenty, I replied. Just not in words. Her face twisted. So you just leave? Just disappear? After 5 years? You didn't know I was gone for the first 3 weeks, I said. That should tell you everything. Silence. Then she sat, not asking, and folded her hands. I didn't mean to make you feel used, she said quietly. I didn't respond. I thought we were fine. I thought you understood the way things worked. I did, I said. Eventually. She flinched. I leaned forward. You never saw me, Lauren. You saw the benefits of me. My presence, my money, my effort. But you never made space for who I was. I was an extra pair of hands. Never a voice. Never a vote. She swallowed. You helped. No, I corrected. I held it together. And then, you didn't even notice the moment I stopped. She stared at the floor. The kids, they're confused, she said. They miss you. I tilted my head. Do they? Or do they miss what I paid for? She looked up, wounded, but not with protest, with recognition. Emma had to cancel her subscription services. Tyler's Uber account won't work. We're behind on the electric. Everything feels heavier. It was always heavy, I said. You just didn't feel it. She didn't deny it. Then, finally, she asked the real question. Are you coming back? I leaned back in the chair. The rain tapped against the window like a metronome. No. The word didn't explode. It landed like a verdict. She shook her head. Slow. So that's it? After everything? I nodded. That's it. But the kids. The kids made their choice too, I said. Long before I left. She looked broken then. Not dramatic. Not weeping. Just thin. Like someone who had walked too far in the wrong direction and realized the map was upside down the whole time. I didn't protect you, she said finally. Not the way I should have. I let her have that silence. It was the first honest sentence she'd spoken in years. I kept waiting for you to make things better, she said. And you always did. So I stopped thinking about what that cost you. And now you're paying the difference, I said. Her lip trembled. Can we fix it? No, not because I didn't care, but because there was nothing to fix. There was only absence now, and the memory of how much it hurt to be needed but never wanted. She stood slowly. I followed her to the door. She turned once more, rain falling harder behind her. Were we ever real? That question stayed in the doorway like smoke. I met her eyes. I was. And then I closed the door. In the months that followed, I didn't hear much. A few texts from Emma. Surface level. Probably prompted by Lauren. Emma, hey, hope you're okay. Emma, I still use that camera app you got me. I didn't reply. Tyler didn't reach out at all. That felt right. I imagined them in that house, the one I'd once paid for, wired for convenience, kept running like a machine. I imagined them growing slowly aware of every piece I'd removed. The insulation of me, the architecture of my effort. Lauren made one more attempt, an email this time. She said the kids were struggling. She said she had underestimated me. She said she understood now. But here's what I knew. She understood the cost. Not the man. She missed the warmth of a man who held the weight, not the man himself. And understanding what I did was not the same as respecting who I was. So I didn't respond. Because I wasn't angry anymore. I was clean. The townhouse was small, but it breathed. It didn't ask anything from me. It didn't guilt me. I cooked for one, paid for one, lived for one. And no one called me just someone who helps. For the first time in years, I was no longer a background character in someone else's life. I was present, fully, not appreciated, not even seen, but solid. And so I ask you now, whoever's listening, if a man gives his time, his labor, his love, and all he's ever called is someone who helps around sometimes, at what point is he allowed to disappear? And if he does, not in rage, not in cruelty, but with quiet resolve, is that abandonment? Or is that survival? You tell me, because I already know my answer.